Chapter 3062. Bai Su's spiritual body floated out of the carriage. There was a barrier between them. At this distance, Bai Su could see the girl's stunned expression behind the gauze curtain. Bai Su raised her eyebrows and smiled. "Don't look at me like that, I will think that you have a crush on me." Saying that, she shifted her gaze towards Dmo Xian. "If Dmo Xian knows that I have seduced his beloved woman, he will kill me." Yiqing Luo. Why did the scene suddenly change? At this moment, Bai Su's face was no longer as gentle as water, like a white lotus. Obviously, it was the same face, the same style. But her temperament had undergone an earth-shaking change. At this moment, the spiritual body standing in front of Yiqing Luo, that originally elegant and refined face exuded an extremely flamboyant sense of beauty. It had a charm that made people unable to look away. In addition, Bai Su's flamboyant and domineering eyes were full of aura. There were only 4 words left in Yiqing Luo's mind: Queen. "Don't doubt me, I am Bai Mei's elder sister, the woman behind Dmo Xian." Bai Su brushed her hair. Yiqing Luo. What the hell was woman behind? Bai Mei has been with me since she was born. I was the one who personally brought her up. In her heart, her older sister is a gentle person who emits motherly love. So, for the sake of my pitiful younger sister, I must maintain this image in front of her. Bai Su shrugged and explained helplessly. Yiqing Luo's mouth twitched. For Bai Mei, she disguised herself as a white lotus? Since she loved Bai Mei so much. Bai Mei was nailed to the rock wall, but as her elder sister, not only did she not show any sadness, she even had the mood to joke with her. "I have a lot of things to do, I don't have time to teach her how to behave, so, she became like this." Bai Su glanced at Bai Mei, who was still bleeding and nailed to the wall. "As long as she's still alive, I don't care how you torture her." Yiqing Luo, this elder sister, was really speechless. "Wait a minute. Just now, Bai Su said, as long as Bai Mei was alive, she could torture her however she wanted. In other words, Bai Mei was not dead?" Bai Su. Dmo Xian strode over and glanced at Bai Su coldly. "Take her away, don't be an eyesore." She was referring to Bai Mei. Bai Su spread out her hands. Her gorgeous face and imposing manner were not inferior to Dmo Xian at all. "Dmo Xian boy, did you think that I came all the way here and took the risk to send my spiritual body to the earth realm just to save my poor sister?" Dmo Xian glanced sideways and looked at her with a smile that didn't look like a smile. It seemed to be asking, "Otherwise?" Bai Su snorted and rolled her eyes. "She doesn't have enough power to make me come all the way to the earthly realm to save her." His tone was filled with disdain. Yiqing Luo really didn't feel that. Bai Su liked her sister. Dmo Xian was expressionless as he lightly said, "Speak." "TSK. In front of your little beauty, you're even more docile than little Nine. Why is it that when you see me, you're so cold and heartless?" Bai Su touched her face with her fingers and said, "Don't tell me. I'm not as beautiful as your little beauty." Chapter 3063. Bai Su's teasing smile froze on her face. Immediately, a layer of anger covered her face bit by bit. She went berserk and raised her palm towards Dmo Xian's direction. "Brat. I dare you to say these 3 words again. Even in the enchantment." Yiqing Luo could clearly feel it. That palm of Bai Su was really merciless. Bringing along the raging waves, it was totally going to swallow Dmo Xian completely within the rhythm. Dmo Xian didn't move away, nor did he have the slightest intention to counterattack. Until that palm fell head-on and covered Dmo Xian within it. Yiqing Luo's slender brows knitted slightly as she suddenly got up from the soft chair. She raised her hand and her slender fingers rested on the gauze curtain as she was about to walk out of the carriage. One of the maids swayed and used her hand to stop her movement. Yiqing Luo's brows knitted even tighter as her charming eyes turned icy cold as she looked at the maid. Suddenly, a purple light in front of her attracted her attention. The palm wind dispersed and Dmo Xian's tall figure appeared in front of Yiqing Luo. Dmo Xian's body was surrounded by a layer of faint purple light. His eyes were calm as he waved his sleeves. The purple light on his body and the profound energy surrounding him dispersed in an instant. "Speak quickly, don't disturb me." Dmo Xian frowned slightly impatiently. After that, he turned his gaze towards Yiqing Luo. He seemed to sense that Yiqing Luo wanted to walk out of the carriage. His thin lips curled up as he shook his head at her slowly. His thin lips moved as he spat out 2 words, "Wait for me." Seeing that Dmo Xian was safe and sound, Yiqing Luo heaved a sigh of relief. Her line of sight had been lingering on Dmo Xian and Baisu. She was imagining the relationship between the two of them. Baisu's expression was icy cold as her beautiful eyes were filled with anger. Apparently, she was still annoyed by those 3 words from Dmo Xian. Hence, she put on a straight face and said dryly, "The matter you asked me to investigate has some progress. Also, Qingwu also brought me a few pieces of news, and asked me to inform your little beauty." Qingwu? Jun Qingwu? Yiqing Luo heard this name and immediately asked, "What news did little Qingwu ask you to bring me?" Ever since Tenyu Palace appeared, he had sensed that something was wrong with it. Jun Qingwu specially went to the upper realm to investigate the people behind the Palace of Darkness. After investigating for such a long time, Jun Qingwu had yet to return. She was still thinking of finding an opportunity to inquire about Jun Qingwu's news from Dmo Xian. You guessed it right. The people behind the Palace of Darkness are indeed from the upper realm. Baisu did not beat around the bush and said directly, "It's just that we don't know who that person is, but we can be sure that there are already many forces from the upper realm joining the Palace of Darkness." Baisu paused and looked at Dmo Xian, which is to say, Palace of Darkness wants to replace the Imperial Palace's position in Nirvana Realm. In the eyes of the people from the upper realm, isn't the Nirvana Realm a lowly existence? Why would they be interested in the lower realm's powerhouses? Yiqing Luo asked puzzledly when she heard that. As for this, we can't find anything at the moment. The person behind this is hiding too well. Baisu shook her head, narrowed her beautiful eyes, and guessed, perhaps, because the young Dizun is in the Nirvana Realm, those people think that there is something special about the Nirvana Realm? This explanation. To tell the truth, it sounded like it made a little sense. But, it was really too far-fetched. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips and closed her eyes as she quickly replayed all the recent actions of the Palace of Darkness in the Nirvana Realm in her mind. Chapter 3064. I remember, the Dark Forces wanted to invade the West Continent. It was to use the West Continent as a base for their own development. Yiqing Luo looked at Dmo Xian, Palace of Darkness. I'm afraid it's also the same idea. Palace of Darkness wants to invade Nirvana Realm? Baisu understood the deeper meaning behind her words and asked in surprise. To put it bluntly, even if the 4 continents joined forces, they are not a match for a city in the Earth Realm. The person behind the scenes of Palace of Darkness is an extremely powerful person in the upper realm. Why would they take the risk of disrupting the balance of the lower realm and be targeted by the main god to invade Nirvana Realm? Baisu analyzed and shook her head. I feel that your guess is wrong. If the people from the upper realm are really not interested in Nirvana Realm, then they wouldn't keep appearing in the lower realm. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes and said solemnly, according to Xiao Qingwu and Miss Bai's investigation, it can be confirmed that the person behind the scenes of Palace of Darkness is an influential person in the upper realm. If it's really like what you think, the people from the upper realm look down on the lower realm. Why would the person behind the scenes spend so much effort to control the development of Palace of Darkness? Baisu was stunned. Yiqing Luo said, what's more obvious is the Dark Forces. I've crossed hands with the Dark Forces and I'm very clear of their character. Their Dark Forces were once a small force outside of the 4 realms and had their own kingdom. But now, they willingly joined the Palace of Darkness and became a subsidiary force of the Palace of Darkness, obeying the orders and arrangements of the Palace of Darkness. Among them, either the people from Palace of Darkness promised the Dark Forces something which was more tempting than having their own kingdom. Or the dark forces and Palace of Darkness have the same goal. This point, right from the start, Yi Qing Luo had this feeling. With the same goal and the same enemy, joining forces was the best solution. Yi Qing Luo said, Palace of Darkness's ambition is huge and not what we see now. Moreover, I feel that there's another reason why Palace of Darkness started from Nirvana realm and slowly developed their own forces. But I'm still unable to verify it. Bai Su's gaze swept past Yi Qing Luo's wrist. What you mean is, Nirvana realm has something that Palace of Darkness wants. Invading the Nirvana realm and developing your forces is just a superficial reason. Yi Qing Luo, she instinctively pulled back the hand that was wearing the azure dew bracelet. Why did he feel that Bai Su seemed to be hinting at something? Somehow, he felt like he was emphasizing. There was something on her that the person behind the scenes of the Palace of Darkness wanted. Could it be that Bai Su recognized the azure dew bracelet? Now that you've delivered the message, get lost. DMO Xian's cold voice interrupted Bai Su's question. Bai Su rolled her eyes and said, I came all the way here. Even my poor sister is dying because of you. Do you want to dismiss me like this? DMO Xian squinted at Bai Su with his emotionless eyes. Bai Su's smile was unparalleled. She was completely unafraid of DMO Xian's cold face. Yi Qing Luo, who was in the carriage, was speechless when she heard Bai Su's flippant tone. What she could be sure of now was, the relationship between Bai Su and DMO Xian was definitely very close. Their relationship was even closer than that of the Imperial Palace's granny. Chapter 3065. To be able to maintain a smiling face under DMO Xian's expressionless gaze. Except for her. Perhaps only Bai Su could do that. Even the Imperial Palace's old granny would be cautious when interacting with DMO Xian. It could be seen that the relationship between Bai Su and DMO Xian was better than she had imagined. What else do you want? DMO Xian frowned slightly. The balance historian will be here soon. Bai Su raised her brows disapprovingly. So be it. What else can they do to me? After that, she looked into DMO Xian's icy cold peach blossom eyes, and the smile on her face deepened. DMO Xian brat, you are in such a hurry to drive me away. It can be seen that you are very clear about what I want to do. DMO Xian's brows furrowed even tighter. His peach blossom eyes were also suffused with a deep cold light. Bai Su covered her mouth and giggled. Don't worry, we have cooperated for so many years. How can I tear down your stage at this time, after all? We are on the same boat. Bai Su deliberately lowered her voice when she said the last sentence. Using a deliberately seductive voice, she opened her mouth gently. The voice was very soft. But it was also within the range where Yi Qing Luo could hear. These words simply couldn't be more ambiguous. Yi Qing Luo couldn't help twitching her eyes as she listened by the side. She felt that as the Empress of DMO Xian, shouldn't she express something? Declare sovereignty or something? But, listening to Bai Su's deliberate words, it was obvious that she deliberately wanted to provoke her reaction. Or wanted to tease DMO Xian? Sure enough. Just when Yi Qing Luo's mind was filled with all kinds of thoughts, DMO Xian's expression suddenly darkened and turned ugly by several degrees. That pair of deep and cold peach blossom eyes was also covered with a layer of coldness. Do you want me to send you back personally? His voice was icy cold. Bai Su's teasing smile froze at the corner of her mouth, and her lips twitched. Sure enough, having a wife is different. Now you can't even make a joke. Are you so afraid that your little beauty will be jealous? While saying that, she threw a coquettish look at Yi Qing Luo's direction. Little beauty, are you jealous? Yi Qing Luo indicated that she didn't want to bother with her. DMO Xian knitted his brows tightly and said word by word, Bai Su. Bai Su raised her hands and said, Okay, I'll go back now, before he finished his words. Suddenly, cries of alarm rang out from the surroundings. The people from the underworld palace began to shout in panic. This sudden change made Bai Su and the others quickly look in the direction of the voice. At this moment, the dozen or so people from the underworld palace were pointing at a spot on the wall in fear. Their bodies were shivering. Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes, and through the veil, she saw the direction which they were pointing at. It was Bai Mei, who was pinned to the rock wall. The dark green candle flame flickered, elongating Bai Mei's silhouette. The green candlelight shone on the girl's stiff body. It was also clear, it reflected the shocking scene in front of them. The dark green candlelight on the rock wall gathered in Bai Mei's direction one by one. The endless green light seemed to form a green barrier that covered the young girl's body. No, to be more precise. His face, Bai Mei's face, seemed to be rotting gradually. Pieces of flesh started to fall off from Bai Mei's face. Bai Mei's face, using the words, too horrible to look at, badly mutilated, was not enough to describe her terrible state. Even Yi Qing Luo, who was used to seeing blood. Chapter 3066. But it was merely the numbing of her scalp. For this bunch of lunatics from Hell Palace, they themselves were bloody and brutal perverts, so they should have been used to this kind of scenario. Why did Hell Palace's people not care about their image as they cried out in terror, their faces filled with terror? This question Yi Qing Luo didn't have the chance to ask. Everyone's attention was focused on Bai Mei at this moment. In just the time it took for half an incense stick to burn, Bai Mei's badly mutilated face slowly peeled off from her face under the dim green candlelight. At the instant when the skin on her face peeled off, that bloody face was swiftly shrouded by the dim green candlelight. In a split second, the entire Hell Palace was engulfed by a gust of chilly air. That chilly air carried a bone-piercing chill, so strange that it made one's hair stand on end. Hell Palace's people retreated backwards in fear as they tried to escape. But they had just taken a step. A gust of dim green air wave blocked their way. When this air wave appeared, Hell Palace's people's faces turned deathly pale. Hell Palace's people's attitude made Yi Qing Luo creased her brows. Her gaze kept lingering on those candles. Apparently, Bai Mei's change, as well as the skin peeling off from her face, were all caused by these strange candles. Ever since she entered Hell Palace and saw these candles, she had an extremely uncomfortable feeling. Somehow, she felt that these dim green candlelight were extremely horrifying. Yi Qing Luo finally fixed her gaze on one of Hell Palace's people. Those candles. What are they made of? That Hell Palace's people who were pointed out hugged their heads as they shook their heads furiously. Their faces were filled with terror, unable to say a single word. This confirmed Yi Qing Luo's guess. These are all ghost flame candles. Dmo Xian looked at Yi Qing Luo as he spoke calmly. Ghost flame candles? Yi Qing Luo was unfamiliar with this name. Ghost flame candles? Bai Su crossed her hands as she rubbed her arms. No wonder I sensed such a dense evil qi the minute I entered. So, these candles are actually ghost flame candles. Bai Su saw Yi Qing Luo's puzzled expression as her spiritual body suddenly stuck towards the direction of the rock wall. Then, he stretched out his hand. The transparent finger was embedded in a candle flame just like that. Bai Su tugged hard and threw the candle into Yi Qing Luo's arms with a look of disgust, while explaining, the ghost flame candle is a person's life force, the candle flame that is ignited. In the end, the candle was caught by the maidservant outside the sedan with her bare hands. She held the maid's hand. Yi Qing Luo took a closer look at that candle. When the will-o-wisp candle was on the wall, other than the strange flame, it looked like a normal candle. However, when it fell into the hands of the maidservant, the candle was extremely sticky. It was like a puddle of green goo that formed a candle. Even if he was thrown into the hands of the maidservant, the candlelight was still burning. The dark green candle flame blended with the green liquid. No matter how one looked at it, it was disgusting. Yi Qing Luo also saw it clearly. The place where the candlelight was burning was in the shape of a human bone, ghastly white. The dark green light came from the holes in the mouth, eyes, and nose that were shaped like white bones, which were burning. Up close. Chapter 3067. The one who created this kind of ghost fire candle didn't use corpses but living people. Bai Su's tone turned gloomy when she said this. Making use of living people's desires, using a special method to turn them into candles, then using a special method to extract their life essence, to form the candle flame. Bai Su's explanation was very simple and left out a lot of details. However, anyone could hear the bloodiness and brutality in it. Turning living people into candles. Using human life essence to form candle flame. How sinister was this to be able to do it? Ever since they entered the Hell Palace, there were at least 200 to 300 ghost fire candles. And this was only half of the journey to the Hell Palace. Hell Palace's bunch of lunatics. Really cruel to the extreme. We didn't want to. The Hell Palace's people could feel Yi Qing Luo's icy cold gaze through the veil as they were so frightened that they started wailing. This is all the idea of the Palace of Darkness. We were all schemed by the Palace of Darkness. The Hell Palace's people had the intention to destroy the Palace of Darkness. Mentioning the Palace of Darkness, Yi Qing Luo's eyes flashed. This ghost fire candle and the Palace of Darkness were related? Probably because their hearts were already corroded by the fear. Yi Qing Luo's tone only increased slightly. The Hell Palace's people then explained the entire sequence of events while wailing. Their Hell Palace implemented the policy that everyone could become the Lord of Hell. Every month, they would carry out a change of the Lord of Hell. And not long ago, it was an important day to change the Lord of Hell. On the day when the elected Lord of Hell became the Lord of Hell, in order to express his generosity after becoming the Lord of Hell, he left the Hell Palace to buy some food and drinks to celebrate. This trip, he didn't return for a day. The Hell Palace's people found the Lord of Hell who was covered in blood and on his last breath at the back mountain of the Hell Palace. The Hell Palace's people were instantly infuriated. Their Lord of Hell had just become the Lord of Hell. And he was ambushed. If they were any later, the Lord of Hell would have died here. Wasn't this a blatant challenge to their Hell Palace's authority? But no matter how angry they were, the Hell Palace's people didn't manage to find out who was the one who injured the Lord of Hell. Lord Hell's injuries were simply too severe, and he was about to die. Suddenly, a person who claimed to be Yuhan came and said that she had a way to save Lord Hell. The people from the Underworld Palace were also desperate. Seeing that Yuhan was alone, young and weak, he agreed to it. Yuhan had used the ghost fire candle to save Lord Hell. Not only was he saved, but Lord Hell's strength had also increased greatly after he woke up the next day. Such a strange thing. How could the people of the Underworld Palace, who had always pursued strength, let go of this opportunity? Thus, they formed a group to look for Yuhan. After obtaining the method to make the will-o-wisp candle from Yuhan, he followed Yuhan's instructions and placed the will-o-wisp candle on the walls of the Underworld Palace as a source of illumination. The people from the Underworld Palace had tasted the sweetness of victory. Towards the ghost flame candle, he became more and more enthusiastic. More and more will-o-the-wisp candles were produced. Hearing Hell Palace's people's words, Yi Qing Luo's slender brows creased tightly. Yuhan? Yuhan? Ghost hand Wu you again? Chapter 3068. Mentioning this, Hell Palace's people's expressions all had slight changes. Following that, they looked at each other, their faces filled with a dilemma. After hesitating for some time, Hell Palace's people then opened their mouths. Ghost fire candle indeed can increase our ability, but ghost fire candle is made from a living person's resentment and vitality. The resentment is extremely strong, and if we're not careful, there's a possibility of being swallowed by ghost fire candle, becoming its food. When Hell Palace's people reached this point, their voices were slightly trembling. It could be seen that towards the unstable factor of ghost fire candle, they were fearful from the bottom of their hearts. That Lord Hell from before. Had he been swallowed by ghost fire candle? Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes as she asked her next guess. The people from the underworld palace immediately turned their gazes toward the direction of the sedan. You. How did you know? Indeed, that Lord Hell who had been saved by Yuhan and whose ability had increased greatly, had already been swallowed by ghost fire candle. They had personally witnessed ghost fire candle swallowing the former Lord Hell bit by bit in the dark green candle flame. How I know isn't important. What's important is, when did you discover that ghost fire candle would swallow you? Yi Qing Luo continued to ask. Hell Palace's people's expressions congealed as they hesitated for a moment. Silence started to spread in Hell Palace. Yi Qing Luo didn't rush them. Only calmly and indifferently, waiting for Hell Palace's people's reply. In the entire Hell Palace, there was only Bai Mei's painful moans from the candle flame tearing her face and the hissing sound of the candle flame burning. There were no other sounds. Under this oppressive atmosphere, one of Hell Palace's people suddenly threw down the weapon in his hand as he cried out sharply, "We've obviously been schemed against by the Palace of Darkness. That damned Palace of Darkness, they even dare to scheme against us." That man raised his head as his gaze was filled with madness. The former Lord Hell, he was swallowed by ghost fire candle 3 days ago. 3 days ago, he was swallowed by ghost fire candle. When he said the last sentence, that man seemed to be gritting his teeth as every single word came out from the slits of his teeth. His hands clenched tightly into fists. That person called Yuhan said she came from Palace of Darkness. Furthermore, he had come on behalf of the Palace Master of Gloomy Palace to help the Underworld Palace. In exchange, the Underworld Palace must unconditionally agree to do one thing for the Palace of Darkness. For Hell Palace. They had done all kinds of atrocious things. He had personally witnessed the power of the will-o-wisp candle on the former Lord of Hell. Naturally, they agreed without hesitation. Yuhan, who was sent by the Palace of Gloom, had saved Lord Hell of the Underworld Palace at that time. She had also given Underworld Palace the method to raise their strength. To the Underworld Palace, this was indeed a great favor. A few days ago, Yuhan came to us and asked us to use the space explosion sorcery to devour a space in the mortal world. We agreed to it as a way to repay the favor to the Palace of Darkness. We didn't know that the people from the Palace of Darkness wanted to deal with you, madam. I don't know that the Lord Dizun is in the space that the Dark Abyss Palace wants us to swallow. The people from the Palace of Darkness didn't tell us anything. They only said that someone from the Miao tribe offended the second Palace Master of the Palace of Darkness and wanted to teach the Miao tribe a lesson. Everyone from the Underworld Palace looked at Xia Ba and Lang Yen, who were lying on the ground. Chapter 3069. That bunch of grandsons from the Palace of Darkness. Not only did they want to get someone else to do their dirty work, they even lied to us. That person from Hell Palace was filled with hatred as he spoke. Ghost fire candle. That was a scheme of the Palace of Darkness. We created thousands of ghost fire candles, and after lighting them up around the surroundings of Hell Palace, the entire Hell Palace was enveloped by it. Once these candles were lit up, there was no way to extinguish them. Initially, these Yin Qi were able to increase our abilities, but later on, the Yin Qi became more and more intense, as though it had suppressed our powers. Hell Palace's people were filled with hatred and fear as they looked at that side, at the scene where the candles covered Bai Mei. What happened to the previous Lord of Hell? Yi Qing Luo asked again. Because this month's Lord of Hell's position was taken by Xia Ba while the previous Lord of Hell was in closed-door cultivation, to snatch the position. The previous Lord of Hell was thinking of snatching back this position. So. Hearing the Hell Palace's people stuttering, Yi Qing Luo's brows rose, so that previous Lord of Hell increased the absorption of the Yin Qi from the ghost fire candle, causing the Yin Qi to corrode his body and later being swallowed by the ghost fire candle. Am I right? Hell Palace's people lowered their heads, tacitly agreeing with Yi Qing Luo's words. Yi Qing Luo rolled her eyes. No wonder Xia Ba and Lang Yen seemed much more relaxed after they were carried into Hell Palace. They were probably planning to absorb the ghost fire candle's energy to launch a huge counterattack. No wonder Old Lai and the rest of Hell Palace's people were able to swiftly recover their energy under the circumstances where they were seriously injured. And they were able to raise their battle power in a short period of time. All these were made use of the ghost fire candle's energy. In this way, it made sense. Towards the cause and effect of the Hell Manor, Yi Qing Luo had more or less guessed it. She might as well not bother to continue asking. She shifted her gaze onto Bai Mei. In her heart, she faintly had a new guess. Over at the Palace of Darkness, they had always liked to play some tricks in the dark. They looked for Hell Palace, absolutely not just to make use of Hell Palace's hands to kill DMO Xian and her. After all, if something really happened to DMO Xian and the Miao tribe. On the Imperial Palace's side, or the powerhouse behind DMO Xian, if they wanted to seek revenge for DMO Xian. It was very easy to find out that it was the Dark Nether Palace. Therefore, getting someone else to do the dirty work might just be a superficial reason. In fact, there was another reason. This reason, it was very likely that it had something to do with the human skin that Bai Mei had changed into. She looked at the face that had completely separated from Bai Mei's. In Yi Qing Luo's heart, there was a very ominous premonition. He had a feeling that this person's face was going to stir up trouble again. As expected. Just as this thought surfaced in Yi Qing Luo's mind. All of a sudden, Bai Mei let out a miserable shriek. Soon after, his body softly slid down the rock wall. Fresh blood permeated her entire body. It dyed her white chiffon dress red. When Bai Mei slid to the ground, she did not ask for help from her sister. Instead, he raised his hands, wanting to touch his face, but not daring to do so. My face. This is my face. You can't take my face away, she cried hoarsely, filled with despair. Chapter 3070. To Bai Mei. Losing that face was even more terrible than death. She would rather die. She wasn't willing to lose her face. Bai Mei screamed in pain as her hands finally pressed on her face. Not sure if it was because of the flesh and blood on her hands or because of the pain, Bai Mei screamed as she seemed to have lost all her strength and fell to the ground. Everyone's attention was not on Bai Mei. Instead, they were staring at the human face which was shrouded in countless green candlelight. That human face was not stained with a drop of blood after it fell off Bai Mei's face. This is. Bai Su stared at the human face as she frowned. What a heavy yin qi, oh, as expected. DMO Xian's eyes were deep and bottomless. The words that came out of his mouth were extremely light. But in the ears, it was filled with a dignified and cold temperament which made one's heart skip a beat. Bai Su looked sideways at him. What do you know? Don't keep me guessing. DMO Xian's peach blossom eyes looked up at that human face as his lips curled into an unfathomable smile. Bai Su was anxious as she urged, why are you still acting mysterious? Can't you tell me what you know? The real motive of the Palace of Darkness is not to kill with a borrowed knife. Just at this moment, a young lady's clear and melodious voice was heard from the carriage. Bai Su's beautiful eyes lit up and she simply gave up on asking DMO Xian that sneak attack. Her spiritual body leaned towards the direction of the carriage and said, Little beauty, you and DMO Xian are really a match made in heaven, both of you are so smart. Tell me, what did you see? Hearing Bai Su's seductive tone and her weird auntie look, Yi Qing Luo's eyes and lips twitched uncontrollably. She was speechless. Bai Su's pitiful sister had lost her face and was about to die from excessive blood loss. Bai Su could actually stand in front of her and joke with her as if nothing had happened. Was she so sure that Bai Mei would not die? But Bai Su didn't care about Bai Mei's life or death. Yi Qing Luo naturally wouldn't care. Bai Mei, who had lost her face and was about to become a cripple, could no longer stir up any waves. Moreover, after this incident, if Bai Su really wanted to spare Bai Mei's life, she would definitely make arrangements for Bai Mei. Yiqing Luo's gaze fell onto Bai Su, as she calmly opened her mouth to continue her words. Secluded Palace's motive is to borrow the hands of the underworld palace, to manufacture the ghost flame candle, to provide this human face with energy. What? Dark Secluded Palace. Dark Secluded Palace wants to make use of us to manufacture ghost flame candles? When Hell Palace's people heard Yiqing Luo's words, they were all shocked. Even though they had committed all sorts of atrocities, such as murder and skinning. However, to them, doing such sinister things on their own was a form of entertainment. But if all of this was someone else's scheme, someone who was deliberately using them, those people from Underworld Palace simply couldn't accept this. Towards the reactions of those people from Hell Palace, Yiqing Luo wasn't interested to bother about them. She narrowed her eyes and stared at the human face carefully. This human face should be able to absorb enough energy soon. Who is the target of this human face? Her frivolous smile contained a hint of mockery. Dmo Xian's eyes darkened. Everyone only felt a gust of cold wind brushing past. That tall figure was already standing in the carriage, as his long arm drew back, pulling the young lady into his embrace. At the same time. Chapter 3071. The target is actually me? Bai Su cursed in a very ungraceful manner. Her spiritual body shook and quickly avoided the human face. However, it was obvious that the human face had set its eyes on Bai Su. With a swift turn, it caught up with her. The dense Yin Qi was sinister and strange. This Yin Qi is really scary. Bai Su curled her lips and said, how many people's resentment and Yin Qi did it absorb to gather such dense Yin Qi? If I'm contaminated by it, I'm afraid my spiritual body will be destroyed. Ah Xian. Yiqing Luo saw Bai Su being chased around by that human face. The green candlelight dragged out a trail of traces. She tugged Dmo Xian's sleeve. I am very safe in the enchantment, you go and deal with that human face first. She won't die. Dmo Xian didn't even bat an eyelid. If I save her, you will be jealous. Yiqing Luo, she just felt that. Bai Su should have a good relationship with him. If something happened to Bai Su in front of him, it would be his responsibility. Moreover, did she look like someone who would be jealous? Do I look like someone who's being unreasonable? Like? Apparently, Bai Su, who was escaping, also heard this sentence. She made a turn and rushed to the carriage. Dmo Xian, boy, can't you have some virtue of respecting the old and cherishing the young? You want an old man like me to block the knife for your little beauty, don't you feel embarrassed? Yes. Dmo Xian was decisive, his voice was cold. Bai Su gritted her teeth. Dmo Xian continued coldly, admit that you are an old woman? F***ck. Bai Su was furious. Go and protect your little beauty. I'm not doing this anymore. Just as she finished her words, Bai Su's spirit body suddenly shook and disappeared in the air. The face that glowed with a dark green light missed its target. It swayed a few times in the air. That human face turned its face towards the direction of the carriage. Yiqing Luo's face was thick as she stared straight at her. The visual impact was quite terrifying. Yiqing Luo frowned. The human face's target is indeed me. Attacking Bai Su was just a cover. She wanted to use Bai Su to lure Dmo Xian out. The human face took the opportunity to attack her. Obviously, this human face had its own thoughts. Or perhaps, someone was secretly manipulating this human face? This thought made Yiqing Luo's expression congeal. She was just about to lift the veil of the carriage and sense the surroundings to see if there were any unfamiliar auras. Just as he moved, her waist was caught by the man's strong arm. Her back leaned against the man's broad chest. The elegant scent of sandalwood soothed her heart. Stay, wait for me. Dmo Xian lowered his head and whispered into her ear. He caressed her hair gently with his large and thick palms. After that, he leaped out of the carriage and headed towards the human mask. Ah Xian. Yiqing Luo frowned. The surroundings, she only managed to spit out 2 words. Yiqing Luo's voice paused. Her face was a little gloomy. She actually couldn't move. Yiqing Luo stared angrily at Dmo Xian's back. She was in the enchantment boundary, no one could plot against her. She couldn't move, it must be Dmo Xian's trick. Dmo Xian. Yiqing Luo shouted angrily, why did you trap me? Dmo Xian's sleeves moved and purple light shone. The majestic and violent profound energy wrapped that human face. The dark green yin qi began to surge. Chapter 3072. 2 bursts of energy transformed into a huge light blade, as it kept on engulfing each other. The violent and terrifying strength qi roared and buzzed within the Hell Palace. Gravel flew everywhere as the candle flame flickered. This was a powerful pressure. Even those few people from the Hell Palace couldn't help but clutch their chests as they spat out blood. Not to mention those few crippled people who were lying on the ground without any chance to retaliate. When the 2 bursts of energy tangled to the brink of a volcanic eruption. On the rock wall, those strange ghostly green candle flame candles swayed and fell off the rock wall. The ghostly fire candle's speed was extremely fast. In just a few breaths' time, the ghostly fire candle had already rolled to the side of Xia Ba and Len Yen. The ghostly green candle flame instantly enveloped both of their bodies. Hiss hiss, the candle flames swayed violently, giving off an extremely pungent smell in the air. This time, the smell was extremely obvious. Yiqing Luo just took a sniff and she could smell this smell. A thick rotten smell. But a moment later, that ball of ghostly green candle flame swayed once again. On the ground, there were no signs of those 2 lumps of flesh and blood. Only their clothes were left, which proved that they indeed existed. This scene made the Hell Palace's people's faces turn paler. It's here again. The ghostly fire candle is swallowing living people again. Swish swish swish, after the ghostly green candle flame swallowed Xia Ba and Len Yan, the candle flame started to sway vigorously. As though it had absorbed a huge amount of energy, it started to dance wildly in joy. Hiss, another sound of the candle flame swaying was heard. She saw the energy which was entangled with Dmo Xian, with a whoosh, the ghostly green glow scurrying. The ghostly green glow instantly swallowed Dmo Xian's purple electric glow. Ah Xian! Yiqing Luo saw this and her heart became even more anxious. She wanted to move but her 4 limbs were still restrained by an invisible force, totally unable to move. Immediately, Yiqing Luo became anxious. Ah Xian, the surroundings are filled with the ghostly fire candle's yin qi. That human face skin relies on the yin qi to constantly increase its energy. As long as the ghostly fire candle doesn't extinguish, the human face skin will have an endless supply of energy. This was also the reason why the Palace of Gloomy Darkness chose the Underworld Palace. Because the madman here had killed too many people, and because the terrain was shady, the entire Hell Prefecture was quiet. The entire Hell Palace was filled with a gloomy aura. It was the most suitable place to make will-o'-the-wisp candles. It was also the most suitable place to cultivate yin energy. The people of the Palace of Gloomy Darkness put the strange human face on Bai Mei's face. He used Bai Mei as a medium to transmit the human skin. All he had to do was send Bai Mei to the Underworld Palace. The human skin absorbed all the resentment and vitality of the ghost fire candle. That human face would become a weapon to kill without spilling blood. It could be said, the entire Hell Prefecture was now a magnetic field of human faces. The human face skin could continuously increase its energy, and it did not need to worry about running out of energy. Yiqing Luo's heart tightened. No matter how powerful Ah Xian was, he was still a human. There would also come a time when the energy would run out. Bang! Just as Yiqing Luo was looking on helplessly, that dark green glint started to expand, as it completely enveloped Dmo Xian's purple light. Only to hear an exploding sound of the air vibrating. The dark green light was like pieces of shattered green crystals, as it shot out in all directions. The purple light was glistening. That tall and straight figure stood silently on the original spot, with his hands behind his back. The man was dressed in a purple robe, as the hem of his robe fluttered along with the strong wind, as though purple clouds were rolling. Just a glance. Chapter 3073. Dmo Xian's peach blossom eyes were filled with a biting cold glint. His sleeves moved and a thick profound energy filled the air, rippling out circles after circles of profound waves. The dark green Yin light which enveloped the human face skin seemed to have been squeezed by something, as it kept twisting and changing shape. That human face skin. It was only 5 steps away from the carriage. Through a layer of gauze, Yiqing Luo could clearly see that under the dark green Yin light, that human face skin was twisted and squeezed. That was a kind of déjà vu feeling of a face being squeezed into a ball. The eyes, nose and mouth were all squeezed into a line. The surrounding candlelight swayed even more violently, as though it was going to burn the entire Hell Palace. The dark green light continued to sway. It added a bit of frightening treachery to this gloomy Hell Palace. The dark green Yin light continued to scuttle towards the direction of the human face skin. But, no matter how turbulent the Yin light was, recklessly providing energy to the human face skin, the twisted and squeezed feeling of the human face skin had not lessened. On the contrary, it became more and more twisted, as though it was about to curl into a ball. Gradually, that face's features could not be seen. On the contrary, Dmo Xian. His expression was cold and his peach blossom eyes had no emotions at all. A powerful and majestic aura was constantly being released from his body. But the expression on his face was still the same as before. It was as light as the wind and clouds, as though the consumption of energy to him was of no importance. 2 bursts of energy collided continuously in the air, giving out bursts of air exploding sound. Just like what Yiqing Luo had speculated. The human face skin had relied on the Hell Palace to become its magnetic field, and with the Yin Qi provided by the ghost fire candle, it constantly replenished its energy and increased its energy. Time and time again, trying to suppress the pressure created by Dmo Xian. But, no matter how much the human face increased its energy, Dmo Xian was able to suppress the human face skin, making it unable to resist at all. After a long period of suppression, the human face skin apparently became agitated. The dark green Yin light was like a hurricane once again, sweeping up a series of violent tornadoes, twisting and twisting the purple light which was suppressing it. Dmo Xian's eyes were deep, and one look, it was bottomless. Profound and unfathomable, making one feel an inexplicable chill. He did not move. He allowed the tornadoes and hurricanes to wrap around his power. His purple robe was fluttering in the dark green wind. His ink-black hair also flew on his shoulders. A few breaths later, the human face skin also realized that its own agitation, to Dmo Xian, could not even stir up a single ripple. His face was a little stiff from anger. It was also the moment when the human face froze in anger. Dmo Xian's gaze suddenly froze. He, who had not moved for a long time, suddenly flipped his palm. Waves of air surged and surged. The powerful profound energy was like a huge boiling wave. In an instant, it bound the human face. The human face suddenly let out a hissing sound. Then, the human face that was twisted into a ball began to emit green smoke. The surrounding Yin light also began to scatter wildly. When Yiqing Luo saw this, her pupils constricted. She finally understood why Dmo Xian had been using his own profound energy to suppress the human face instead of directly taking action to get rid of the human face. Dmo Xian's suppression of human face. This caused the human face to become more and more anxious and uneasy. Once it was anxious, even if it was a human face without any vitality, it would also reveal a flaw. As long as there was a flaw in the human face's mental energy, Dmo Xian took this opportunity to strike. Chapter 3074. If the human face skin really had its own consciousness, controlling the human face skin, there was a possibility that there would be a chance to start from the human face skin, to find out the purpose of the human face skin, and the identity of the person behind the scenes. The secluded palace had planned so many things step by step. Yiqing Luo was really curious. What was the motive of the person behind the secluded palace? As a high-ranking person in the upper realm, to be able to hide himself under Jun Qinggu and Bai Su's investigation, his ability was definitely not to be underestimated. Why would he put in so much effort for a Nirvana realm? Moreover, it wasn't that the person behind the scenes didn't know DMO Xian's identity. But he still dared to go against DMO Xian. It could be seen that that person was extremely confident, totally not worried that DMO Xian would find out his identity. Hiss hiss, the sound that the human face skin made was getting more and more obvious. More and more green smoke was emitting from the human face skin. The green yin qi in the surroundings gradually dissipated. The human face skin kept struggling. His twisted facial features were extremely hideous and terrifying. DMO Xian's peach blossom eyes squinted slightly, his qi waves were monstrous, surging like waves. Just as DMO Xian was preparing for the last strike, to completely cut off the source of the human face skin's mental power, the human face skin which was emitting green smoke suddenly gave out an extremely ear-piercing hiss-hiss sound. Not knowing where the energy came from, that piece of human face which had curled up into a ball, directly broke through DMO Xian's purple light barrier, and like a lightning, it charged towards the carriage. Just a distance of 5 steps away. With a speed as fast as lightning. Almost in a blink of an eye. That human face skin had already charged out of the enchantment. The human face skin which broke through the obstruction. It had already opened up, revealing its facial features. Its hollow eyes, nose, and mouth reflected a deep green light, looking extremely frightening. DMO Xian's expression changed, his deep eyes turned cold. Lil Luo, be careful. His figure moved, speedily moving towards the carriage. The maids who were guarding around the carriage saw this and quickly wanted to block in front of the carriage. But before they could move, the dark green yin light that came from all directions wrapped around their limbs, causing the 4 of them to be unable to move for a moment. When they quickly dealt with the yin light that was surging towards them, that human face had already penetrated through the enchantment as it headed straight towards Yiqing Luo's face. This series of events actually happened in the blink of an eye. Just as the human skin was about to cover his face, Yiqing Luo's fingers moved and the glower flame fan swiftly opened up, blocking in front of her. Dark force burst forth. Yiqing Luo's fingers flickered rapidly once again, the glower flame fan danced excitedly on her fingertips, as she swiftly counterattacked. But, at this moment, pang! An earth-shattering noise resounded. The ground shook violently. Yiqing Luo only felt that her wrist was held by an extremely strong force. Immediately after, her delicate body was pulled and thrown into a chest that was filled with coldness. The faintly familiar smell made Yiqing Luo frown slightly. Just as he was about to break free. However, a strong arm forcefully locked onto her waist. An ice-cold voice floated down from above, "Don't move." When this voice entered Yiqing Luo's ears, it made Yiqing Luo quivered, as she completely woke up. Her eyes suddenly widened as she raised her head to look over. What entered her eyes was a cold and aloof side face, as though it was meticulously sculpted. Chapter 3075. When Yiqing Luo met that pair of icy cold eyes, she shuddered. "Zhu Wu Xian, why are you here?" Wasn't the person in front of her Zhu Wu Xian? He was dressed in a red robe, like a blazing fire, looking ostentatious and reckless. But the aura around him was cold and arrogant, and his imposing manner was extremely sharp, making one not dare to get close to him. One of his arms was tightly wrapped around her waist, while the other hand was bare-handed, blocking the human face skin. Human face skin? Yiqing Luo's struggle stopped as her eyes swiftly shifted onto the human face skin. Endless dark green light merged with the human face skin, as it wrapped around Zhu Wuxian's right palm. It was like a piece of human face skin, tightly sucking on Zhu Wuxian's hand. Zhu Wuxian had helped her to block the encroachment of the human face skin. But the scene which made Yiqing Luo's heart cursed even more. Dmo Xian was standing on the other side of the human face skin, which was opposite her. Directly opposite, less than 2 steps away. He was releasing his profound energy, blocking the human face skin's attack. Yiqing Luo. In front of the main wife's boyfriend, what should she do if she was hugged in another man's arms? Waiting online. It was urgent. In the current situation, she couldn't struggle. Zhu Wuxian, this lad, couldn't he be more self-aware and let go of her? If he wanted to save her, then save her. Why was there a need to be so touchy? Most importantly, in the earlier situation, she actually didn't need Zhu Wuxian to save her. She could handle it too. At this moment, she had to rack her brains again to coax her jealous boyfriend. Yiqing Luo wanted to cry, but the matter had already happened, so she could only brace herself to face it. After all, Zhu Wuxian had rushed out to save her at this moment, that was out of good intentions. Let go of your hand. Dmo Xian's icy cold gaze was fixed on Zhu Wuxian's hand, which was wrapped around Yiqing Luo's waist. Zhu Wuxian shot a chilly glance at him, as his hand, wrapped even tighter around her. Dmo Xian's face sunk as his profound energy was drawn from the human face skin, as his long arms swiftly stretched out towards Yiqing Luo. Zhu Wuxian's eyes narrowed slightly as he hugged Yiqing Luo tightly while his body swept backwards, avoiding Dmo Xian's hand. Zhu Wuxian. Dmo Xian's brows were tightly knitted as a cold glint flickered in his eyes, exuding a murderous intent. He speedily went up once again, trying to snatch Yiqing Luo back. But Zhu Wuxian obviously did it on purpose, hugging Yiqing Luo tightly, refusing to let go. Yiqing Luo was led by Zhu Wuxian as she turned left and right. She could feel that Dmo Xian's rage was rising continuously. She furrowed her eyebrows and suddenly raised her hand, her fingers grabbing onto Zhu Wuxian's shoulder. Let me down. Just as she moved, she saw something from the corner of her eyes, and her expression changed drastically. Zhu Wuxian, be careful of people's pride. When Dmo Xian withdrew his profound energy, that human face skin also knew that it was pincered from the front and back, and had no way to escape. Hence it might as well go all the way, as it directly pressed the human face skin onto Zhu Wuxian's arm. The skin of the human face tightly wrapped around Zhu Wuxian's palm. Zhu Wuxian frowned as his icy cold gaze swept past the human face skin. Hurry and let go of me, first remove the human face skin from your hand. Yiqing Luo tried to pry his hand away. No matter. Zhu Wuxian calmly spat out 2 words, as he still hugged her waist, without any intention to let go. That human face skin followed the dim green light, as it slowly merged into Zhu Wuxian's skin. Chapter 3076. Zhu Wuxian's eyelids drooped as his black pupils were deep and cold, as he stared fixedly into her eyes. That grave and stern face, magnified into Yiqing Luo's pupils. His thin lips curled into a faint cold arc. Let me hug a little longer. Yiqing Luo. Zhu Wuxian's voice wasn't considered very gentle. But as compared to his icy cold, stiff tone, it was considered much gentler. Especially with that faint smile on his face. Yiqing Luo only felt a layer of goosebumps all over her body. Her lips twitched a few times. Zhu Wuxian, are you king sick? Yiqing Luo couldn't take it anymore as she tugged Zhu Wuxian's arm, which was covered by the human face skin, and exerted force. Her petite body left Zhu Wuxian's embrace. Her 5 fingers swiftly locked onto Zhu Wuxian's wrist, making use of the silver silk shot out from the glower flame fan in an attempt to prevent the human face skin and Zhu Wuxian from merging. But Yiqing Luo's speed was ultimately a step too slow. Just at the instance when the silver silk shot out, the human face skin had completely merged into Zhu Wuxian's arm along his palm. Yiqing Luo tugged on his arm as she gritted her teeth and scolded Zhu Wuxian. Has your brain been kicked by a donkey? Can't you feel the danger of this human face skin? You're just going to allow this human face skin to enter your body and control you? Do you find it interesting? Yiqing Luo was truly speechless towards Zhu Wuxian. There was obviously a chance to stop the human face skin from merging. But Zhu Wuxian didn't think much of it. She had to be suspicious. Was Zhu Wuxian intentionally trying to make the human face skin merge with him? Just as Yiqing Luo was going crazy, Zhu Wuxian's slightly amused voice rang in his ears. Very interesting. Interesting? Tell me, what's interesting about it? Yiqing Luo was about to explode. Zhu Wuxian's deep eyes gazed deeply at her. That gaze was mixed with a sliver of, not obvious gentleness. Hugging you, smelling your scent, it's very interesting. Yiqing Luo's face instantly turned black. Wasn't he being a little too honest? Suddenly, a powerful force locked onto her waist. She flung herself backward. She fell into a broad embrace. The man's domineering aura enveloped her. Yiqing Luo raised her head and saw a face which was even darker than hers. Ah Xian. Yiqing Luo coughed softly as she softened her tone and called out to him while her arms circled around his waist. Don't be jealous, don't be jealous. You're the only one in my heart. The most important thing for us now is to retrieve the human face from Zhu Wuxian's hands. I can't take it out. Dmo Xian's face was icy cold as he spoke in a cold voice. Yiqing Luo circled Dmo Xian's neck with one hand as she kissed him on the cheek. All right, Xian. He was trying to save me, which was why he gave others the chance to take advantage of him. You don't want me to owe him a favor, right? Dmo Xian's arms suddenly tightened, pressing her tightly against his chest. After the human face skin fuses with the human body, there is only one way: the human face skin voluntarily leaves. The man's low and hoarse voice floated from above. Voluntary? Let people's faces fall off willingly. The battle between the human face skin and Dmo Xian had already injured its mental power. Now it could stay in Zhu Wuxian's body to nourish. So how could it possibly leave willingly? Then Zhu Wuxian Yiqing Luo really wanted to hammer Zhu Wuxian, that brat, to death. The human face skin was such a dangerous thing, and he actually didn't have any vigilance at all. Chapter 3077. Yiqing Luo nestled in Dmo Xian's arms, as she walked a few steps towards Hell Palace's side. Yiqing Luo wanted to turn back several times to take a look at Zhu Wuxian. But she was held back by Dmo Xian's arm, stopping her movements. Ah Xian. Yiqing Luo's little hand hugged Dmo Xian's waist as she called out softly, that human face is really dangerous. If Zhu Wuxian is controlled by that human face, then what should we do? It was no wonder that Dmo Xian was so angry. If it was her, seeing Dmo Xian being hugged by another woman in front of her. No matter what the reason was. She was definitely more irritable than Dmo Xian. He would even tear apart that woman who had hugged Dmo Xian. So it was natural for Dmo Xian to be jealous and angry. But this was the logic behind it. However, Chu Wuxin was trying to save her, which was why this shameless person had the opportunity to take advantage of him. If she really didn't care, she would be too cold-blooded. Being manipulated by a shameless person, then kill him. Dmo Xian spat out a sentence that was neither cold nor warm. There was even a hint of murderous intent in his eyes. Ah Xian. Yiqing Luo's voice turned coquettish as she circled her arms around his neck. You can't say it like that. Before there is any evidence to prove that Zhu Wuxin's appearance is related to human face, if he dies, it will be because he died to save me, and I will owe him a life. Little Luo, The man's low and hoarse voice sounded a little gloomy. Yiqing Luo, who was interrupted, raised her head in a daze. She raised her head. Her chin was held by the man's slender fingers. The man's peach blossom eyes were flowing with a cold glint. The ripples were as deep as an abyss, with no end in sight. I really don't like it when you use such a tone to talk to me because of him. Yiqing Luo's pupils contracted slightly. I don't like hearing his name from your mouth. His extremely possessive words made Yiqing Luo's long eyelashes tremble uncontrollably. Her eyes met his. After a long while, he slowly closed his eyes and lowered his eyelids. Yes, think from another perspective. She absolutely did not like to hear any other woman's name from Dmo Xian's mouth. Even she herself could not accept this. What right did he have to force Dmo Xian to accept it? Because I love you too much. So he cared too much. Because he cared too much. Therefore, no one else could get their hands on it. I'm sorry, Yiqing Luo lowered her eyes and apologized in a low voice. Dmo Xian's hand slid away from her chin. One of his hands was still on her shoulder. Yiqing Luo lowered her head and couldn't see the man's expression. He could only hear a soft sigh of helplessness above his head. Just as the atmosphere between the two of them gradually warmed up, Zhu Wu Xian, who was standing on the original spot, gazing deeply at Yiqing Luo, suddenly opened his mouth. My hand hurts a lot. There was not the slightest fluctuation in his voice, nor did he sound like he was in pain. Yiqing Luo raised her head slightly as she glanced sideways at Zhu Wu Xian. Yiqing Luo, my right palm, is extremely painful. Zhu Wu Xian was extremely serious as he repeated this sentence. Yiqing Luo's vision drooped downwards as she looked at Zhu Wu Xian's right hand, which was hanging by his side. That was the hand that was fused into the human skin's body just now. Pain, was it because the human skin had started to invade Zhu Wu Xian's body? If you don't come over and help me up, I might die from the pain. Zhu Wu Xian continued speaking expressionlessly. Yiqing Luo's petite body stiffened slightly. Chapter 3078. Her heart trembled. She shut her eyes fiercely as she hugged Dmo Xian's waist. Let's go back to the palace. There was no need for her to hesitate any further. As a woman who had already decided to stay for life and had a fiancé, she indeed shouldn't have given Zhu Wu Xian any hope. She couldn't do it herself to accept a lady who adored Dmo Xian by his side. She couldn't ask Dmo Xian to do it. She couldn't be that selfish towards Zhu Wu Xian. Right from the start, she had already expressed it very clearly. But Zhu Wu Xian continued to do things his own way, ignoring her wishes. He had to pester her endlessly. She could only say her apologies. To her, no one was more important than Xian. Yiqing Luo held Dmo Xian's arm and was about to leave. The man next to her stopped in his tracks, with no intention to leave. Yiqing Luo raised her head in puzzlement as she looked at Dmo Xian. Xian, what's the matter? Dmo Xian's slender fingers caressed her cheek. His narrow peach blossom eyes were filled with a deep glint as his thin lips curled into a smile. His eyes seemed to be filled with a pool of spring water. Silly lass. He sighed softly as his low and hoarse voice was filled with unspeakable pampering. I stopped you because I wanted to see what kind of place I occupy in your heart. Dmo Xian's voice became deeper. A faint magnetism passed through her eardrums. It numbed Yiqing Luo's heart. Yiqing Luo's petite body stiffened slightly as she looked at Dmo Xian's charming eyes as she blinked. Dmo Xian's arms tightened as he hugged her petite body tightly in his arms. He rested his chin on her shoulder. Getting closer. Yiqing Luo could clearly feel the man's warm breath, spraying on her skin. Yiqing Luo's heart trembled slightly. As though something was tightly clasping her heart. It made her unable to describe what feeling she was feeling. She pursed her pink lips as she was about to say something. The man's thin lips came closer as his voice became softer. Sorry. I know I'm wrong, I shouldn't have tested your feelings towards me. She could tell. There was a hint of caution in his voice that was hard to detect. That tone, which was filled with guilt, made the words which Yi Qing Luo wanted to say stuck in her throat. Seeing that Yi Qing Luo remained silent, Dmo Xian's tone became even more aggrieved, as his arms wrapped even tighter. It's my pride causing mischief, it's my imagination that ran wild, testing your heart, Lil Luo, I really know I'm in the wrong, can you forgive me? Towards Yi Qing Luo's feelings towards him. It wasn't that Dmo Xian wasn't confident. It was just that Zhu Wuxin had appeared. This caused him to be extremely displeased. Because I love you too much. That was why he couldn't help but probe. Hearing Dmo Xian's slightly coquettish tone, Yi Qing Luo didn't have any other thoughts in her heart at this moment. Dmo Xian was probing. It would indeed make her feel very uncomfortable. But this was also because of Zhu Wuxin's appearance. Other men, such as Gu Jingyu, because he knew that she had no connection with Gu Jingyu or any other man. There was no possibility of further development. But Zhu Wuxin was different. The person whom Zhu Wuxin adored was the former Yi Qing Luo. After that, he saved her time and time again. It could be said that no matter if it was the promise in the past, or the current life-saving feelings, she was unable to really treat Zhu Wuxin coldly. Chapter 3079. If she put herself in his shoes. She thought that she would definitely make the same attempt. Although Zhu Wuxian was a busybody and reaped what he sowed, but after all, it was because he helped you to block the attack from the human face. Dmo Xian continued to speak. His tone was filled with disdain towards Zhu Wuxian. Dmo Xian shot a glance at Zhu Wuxian in disdain and as though declaring, he kept the young lady in his arms. If he really dies here today, I'm afraid that you will remember him for the rest of your life. Hearing the man's childish words, Yi Qing Luo was speechless. But a certain softness in her heart was slowly covered by warmth. In the knowledge of love, she and Dmo Xian were both beginners. They had to take one step at a time to slowly learn the lesson of love. How could she bear to blame Dmo Xian? Between the both of them, all sorts of pink bubbles started to spread. Zhu Wuxian's chilly voice broke the atmosphere. Amen, if I can make her remember me for the rest of her life, it's not bad to die here. Yi Qing Luo, what on earth was this rascal trying to do? Dmo Xian's expression sunk. His icy cold gaze looked towards Zhu Wuxian as he sneered, if you want to die, this lord can fulfill your wish but absolutely not now. Zhu Wuxian's chilly eyes met with Dmo Xian's as his lips curled upwards. Both parties were aggressive and no one was willing to give in. Not too far away, Lei and Feng were already dumbstruck as they looked at their own master in a daze. Previously they had heard Feng talk about how the overlord had thrown away his high and mighty overlord status and face in front of their future mistress, turning into a loyal dog. They had always felt that Feng had been bribed by their future mistress, hence he would speak up for her. But today, they had seen it with their own eyes. Then they understood, Feng was absolutely not exaggerating. The overlord was in front of their future mistress. He didn't care about his face at all. Ever since they could remember, they had been following the overlord's identity for more than 10 years. This was the first time they saw the overlord being so gentle, so childish. Looked like the day when their future mistress would become the mistress of the imperial palace was not far away. Cough, Yi Qing Luo looked at the atmosphere between the both of them and coughed lightly, the both of you. How much longer do you intend to stare at me? Dmo Xian hugged Yi Qing Luo's slender waist tightly as he snorted coldly and retracted his gaze. Zhu Wuxin's eyes were cold. He slowly moved his gaze away. Then, he let out a soft snort from his nostrils. Yi Qing Luo, these two people, were really like a pair of enemies. Who knows, they might even be able to develop a romantic relationship between two lovers. This thought made Yiqing Luo look at Dmo Xian and Zhu Wu Xian. Her gaze was filled with a strange emotion. She shook her head and tossed those messy thoughts out of her head. All right. The most important thing now is to deal with the matter of the human face skin. If the human face skin remains in Chu Wuxin's body, it will ultimately be a hidden danger. She raised her head and looked at Dmo Xian. To prove my innocence, I won't check on his arm, so you go ahead. Dmo Xian shot a disdainful glance at Zhu Wu Xian. I don't want. Zhu Wu Xian opened his mouth coldly. Yiqing Luo, I'm doing this to save you. You should take care of me personally. Ha! Dmo Xian gave a cold laugh as he released Yiqing Luo's waist and walked directly towards Zhu Wu Xian. Chapter 3080. It's not up to you whether you want it or not. Dmo Xian sneered. Zhu Wu Xian, you'd better get it straight. Lil Luo, is this sovereign's woman? Zhu Wuxin's expression was cold. So what? She used to be mine, and she will be mine in the future. Dmo Xian's gaze turned cold. Stop your wishful thinking. A man who only knows how to pester, Lil Luo, will hate you even more. It doesn't matter if I hate her. Zhu Wuxin didn't care. As long as she's by my side, that's enough. Do you think you have that chance? Dmo Xian sneered. The murderous intent in his eyes kept surging. Yiqing Luo, who was standing by the side, looked at the both of them. Because of checking the facial skin of the armed man, they were pushing and dodging each other. Then, both sides drew their swords, and it seemed like they were about to fight at any moment. Yiqing Luo felt that these two men should be hard to get along with each other peacefully, right? It was better to quickly settle the matter of human face and send Zhu Wuxin away. She coughed again, interrupting the electric current between them. Zhu Wuxin, the human face skin has just entered your body. It's still possible to take it out now. Hearing Yiqing Luo's voice, the two of them who were at loggerheads shifted their sights onto Yiqing Luo. Zhu Wu Xian narrowed his cold eyes and his brows rose as he stretched out his right hand towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Take, you can. But I want you to help me. Dmo Xian's face immediately turned black. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched. He really knew how to take advantage of others. Glancing at Dmo Xian's foul expression, Yiqing Luo naturally couldn't really go up to help Zhu Wu Xian. She pursed her pink lips and shook her head solemnly. The human face mask's target is me. If I help you take out the human face mask, I'll be giving it another chance to attack me. She paused for a moment, then continued seriously. Xian is the best choice, because his power is enough to suppress human skin. Zhu Wu Xian's expression turned colder. The coldness between her brows seemed to have thickened a little. His lips were tightly pursed into a straight line. Seeing the displeasure on Zhu Wuxin's face, Dmo Xian was delighted. He raised his peach blossom eyes. If you don't want to die, give me your hand. Zhu Wuxin did not move. He pursed his lips tightly, and his whole body exuded a cold aura. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as she emphasized her tone. Zhu Wu Xian, the reason why you were taken advantage of by that shameless person is because of me, so I can stand here and patiently advise you. But I've already done my best to advise you. If you really want to die, if you really want to be controlled by someone else's face, then it has nothing to do with me. You won't care about me anymore? He abruptly raised his head, as his cold eyes met Yiqing Luo's gaze. Yes. Yiqing Luo replied coldly. Zhu Wuxin's eyes trembled, and a piercingly cold light flowed in his eyes. There was a moment of silence. He raised his right hand and stretched it out in front of Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian gave a cold laugh as he mercilessly pulled Zhu Wu Xian's wrist over. Then, the wind from his palm moved, and the gathered profound energy seeped into Zhu Wuxin's arm, searching for the movement of the human face. His actions were fast, ruthless and accurate. It totally didn't give Zhu Wu Xian any time to adapt. A series of actions. Although Zhu Wu Xian didn't make any sound. But from the cold sweat on his forehead, and the tightly creased brows, it was obvious that he was enduring the pain. Yi Qing Luo looked at the both of them anxiously. It was until roughly 1 incense's time later, Dmo Xian released Zhu Wu Xian's arm. Chapter 3081. Zhu Wu Xian seemed as though he had lost all his energy as he staggered backwards with a pale face. His right arm hung loosely by the side of his body. His cold eyes lifted up slightly, coincidentally facing Yi Qing Luo's figure. He looked at Yi Qing Luo as he stretched out his little hand and pressed it gently on Dmo Xian's chest. That devastatingly beautiful face was filled with worry. He heard Yi Qing Luo asking Dmo Xian in a low voice if he felt uncomfortable anywhere. Like. Yi Qing Luo's heart was filled with Dmo Xian alone. Zhu Wu Xian lowered his eyes as he fixed his gaze on his right arm. The one who was injured was obviously him, wasn't it? The one who should be cared for should be him, wasn't it? Why? Yi Qing Luo's first concern was Dmo Xian. Was this the difference between love and not love? Zhu Wu Xian only felt that the air seemed to have solidified. He even found it difficult to breathe. Every breath he took, his heart felt as though it was being gripped tightly, so painful that his face turned pale. Just as Zhu Wu Xian felt that his heart was being torn apart, eroding him. A voice suddenly rang beside his ear. Zhu Wu Xian, is your arm in pain? Why are you sweating so much? This voice was like the sound of nature as it instantly soothed the tearing pain in his heart. It was like a warm current, filling up his heart. This strange feeling made Zhu Wu Xian feel extremely unfamiliar. But when he raised his eyes, his pupils reflected the young lady's devastatingly beautiful face. He totally didn't have any sense of resistance. Seeing Zhu Wu Xian staring at himself, not saying a word for some time. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows creased tightly as she got a little anxious. Zhu Wu Xian? Have you turned silly from the pain or something? Why aren't you saying anything? Zhu Wu Xian's eyelashes moved. His cold eyes were flowing with light. He collected his eyes and slowly puffed out a gust of air from his nostrils. This gust of air was simply too soft. Yi Qing Luo didn't hear it clearly as she looked at him in puzzlement. Zhu Wu Xian repeated, my right hand is in pain. Earlier when he tugged my hand, he used a lot of force. I suspect that he wants to destroy my right hand. As he was saying that, Zhu Wu Xian's icy cold gaze looked towards Dmo Xian. Yi Qing Luo expressed that to use such a calm as still water tone to complain, this feeling, was really awkward. Zhu Wuxin lowered his head again and looked at his right hand that could not be moved. He said, if you don't take care of me, my right hand might be broken by him tomorrow. Yi Qing Luo, she was just about to express that it was rare for Zhu Wu Xian to say such a long speech. Then, he heard Zhu Wuxin's next sentence. Yi Qing Luo facepalmed speechlessly. Young man, isn't this your motive? He could even complain to her with a straight face, rubbing his nose against her face. It could be seen that Zhu Wuxin was not really about to die of pain like he said. She simply retracted her gaze and looked at Dmo Xian. Xian, can the human face be taken out? I can't take it out. Dmo Xian held her in his arms as his tone was cold. I'm not joking. The only way to make the human face skin leave the body is if the human face skin willingly leaves the body. Even if I use my strength to force it, if it's not willing, the one who gets hurt will only be Zhu Wu Xian. Still, it couldn't be done. Could it be that if the human face skin was unwilling to leave, then Zhu Wu Xian would have to suffer the erosion of the human face skin? If it was controlled by that human face skin, she wasn't sure if she could do anything to Zhu Wu Xian. Furthermore, Chapter 3082. Yin Qi was extremely harmful to the human body. If it stayed in a person's body for a long period of time, Zhu Wuxian's body would definitely be greatly affected. The human face skin in Zhu Wuxian's body won't be able to hide for long. Dmo Xian's large palm covered Yiqing Luo's head as he gently rubbed it. His peripheral vision glanced sideways at Zhu Wuxian as his lips tugged coldly. The nutrients that the human face skin needs can only be absorbed through the human face. Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up. I understand. The human face skin in Zhu Wuxian's body has no way to absorb Zhu Wuxian's nutrients. The human face skin needs nutrients to maintain its own consciousness, as well as the absorption of yin qi. Dmo Xian explained patiently, once the human face skin's nutrients are completely depleted, it will automatically leave Zhu Wuxian's body. By then, the human face skin which has lost its nutrients totally has no energy to resist. Yiqing Luo hugged Dmo Xian's arm, then wait for the human face skin to leave Zhu Wuxian's body on its own. How long does it take for the human face skin's nutrients to be depleted? Mentioning this question, Dmo Xian's face instantly turned black. After some time, he squeezed out a sentence, based on the human face skin's ability, at least half a month, at most 3 to 4 months. Yiqing Luo was stunned. When her vision swept past Zhu Wuxian, she suddenly understood why Dmo Xian's face suddenly turned black. The human face skin was hiding in Zhu Wuxian's body. They wanted to control the human face skin and find the clues behind the human face skin from it. They must wait for the human face skin to leave Zhu Wuxian's body and take the opportunity to control it. But when the human face skin would leave Zhu Wuxian's body was totally uncertain. This also meant that they must keep Zhu Wuxian by their side, constantly paying attention to the human face skin hiding in Zhu Wuxian's body, apart from being able to restrain a person's face in time when it falls off. It was also to prevent the human face skin from quietly leaving when they were not around, and then make a comeback. After all, this human face skin was not only disgusting, it was also extremely disturbing. To make Zhu Wuxian stay by their side for half a month to a few months. No wonder Dmo Xian's expression was so ugly. This was indeed a difficult problem. Could it be? Were they really going to let Zhu Wuxian stay by their side until they lost their dignity? Based on the way Zhu Wuxian and Dmo Xian interacted with each other, Yiqing Luo expressed, the two of them would definitely start fighting at any moment. Just as Yiqing Luo was filled with anxiety. Suddenly, a beam of golden light fell from the sky from the underworld palace that was emitting a dark green light. It landed on the rock wall and cut open a huge hole. Everyone was startled, and they looked at the sudden golden light with vigilance. When Yiqing Luo's gaze met that golden light, her slender brows creased tightly. This golden light, this hole, why does he look so familiar? He had a feeling that he had seen it somewhere before. Yiqing Luo swiftly searched through her memories in her mind. Just as he was about to catch something, the huge hole that was flickering with golden light suddenly opened to both sides. Soon after, a dozen golden figures walked out from the opening. The dozen or so figures were extremely fast. It was neat and orderly. But in a blink of an eye, they were already standing neatly in front of Yiqing Luo and the others. 10 people were dressed in golden shiny armors, giving off a terrifying glow. Chapter 3083. Disdainful of all living beings, arrogant imposing manner, even the air froze in awe. Their appearance was like 1,000 catty boulder, pressing down one by one. Even the usually flamboyant and fearless underworld palace's people all widened their eyes in horror. It's you? Yiqing Luo's vision fell onto the man who was standing right in front. That man had a solemn expression, with an upright and plain-spoken expression. When he saw Yiqing Luo, the man's eyes revealed an astonished look. Librarian of Balance. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a sweet smile. Long time no see. These 10 people were not others. They were the librarian of balance who was attracted by the eruption of her profound jade heart during the battle in the West Continent. The man in the lead was the librarian of balance whom she had met the last time. He was also the boss of these 10 over librarian of balance. You. The librarian stared at Yi Qing Luo, his vision swept across her body, and immediately fell onto the bloody Bai Mei who was lying on the ground. He frowned and spoke solemnly. You are the one who she reported, using illegal means to sneak into the upper realm from the lower realm? From Yi Qing Luo's body, the librarian didn't feel that she had the qualifications to be in the earth realm. But, thinking of Yi Qing Luo, that mysterious power. The librarian's expression had some changes. Yi Qing Luo's smile deepened, her long and narrow eyes also curved. It should be. My father, seems that among the people present, only I am from the lower realm. The 10 over librarian behind him had met Yi Qing Luo previously in the West Continent. They were also clear that their own librarian seemed to have some misgivings towards Yi Qing Luo. Hearing that the person who was reported was her. Each of their faces revealed a complicated expression. According to the main god's law, as a person from the lower realm, sneaking into the upper realm has already violated the peace between the realms. Moreover, you were reported by someone from the earth realm, so I have the right to bring you back to the heavenly realm for investigation. The librarian looked at Yi Qing Luo solemnly. Miss Yi, I believe you won't make things difficult for me. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Of course, this is your duty. Many thanks to Yi Qing Luo for seeing the big picture. Librarian saw that Yi Qing Luo wasn't as eloquent as the previous time, which made him unable to rebuke her, and even cooperated with her, so he heaved a sigh of relief. If possible. He really didn't want to meet Yi Qing Luo again. The librarian didn't want to complicate matters further, so he immediately picked up the shackles and walked towards Yi Qing Luo. But before the historian could even get close to Yi Qing Luo, a majestic and terrifying dark force rose from the ground. Transforming into bursts of profound waves, it laid horizontally in front of Yi Qing Luo, blocking the historical administrator's footsteps. The scribe stopped in his tracks and looked in the direction where the profound energy had come from with a dark expression. It's been a long time since we last met. Are the scribes of the heavenly law realm capable of taking away my people right under my nose? His low, husky, magnetic voice was extremely intimidating. Dmo Xian's sleeves fluttered and the profound energy that was stirring up on the ground turned into a hurricane as it struck out. The historian was forced to take a few steps back. When the scribe heard the voice, his face was filled with shock. He looked in the direction of the voice. In his pupils, a tall figure was reflected. The purple robe fluttered, as though it had opened up a pair of wings, overflowing with splendor and glaring. When the historian's vision fell onto that person's face, his entire person was stunned on the spot. Chapter 3084. The historiographer's heart thumped hard. Since the last time in the West Continent, the historiographer knew that this lady named Yi Qing Luo had some kind of relationship with that mysterious and respectable overlord. Perhaps she was just a pet that the overlord used to pass the time. But the historiographer had never thought of this. The Lord Dizun, who could make the realm lord of the heavenly law realm retreat when the name of Dizun was mentioned, he actually fell in love with a lady from the lower realm. If it wasn't for the fact that he had personally witnessed the overlord holding Yi Qing Luo in his arms with a tender and loving look, the historiographer and the other historians would absolutely not believe it. Although Yi Qing Luo was indeed devastatingly beautiful as a flower. But she was after all a lady from the lower realm. The overlord's status was respectable. How could a lady from the lower realm be worthy of him? The expressions of the historiographer and the other historians were extremely complicated and unpredictable. My little Luo is kind-hearted and doesn't want to make things difficult for you. Dmo Xian's low voice rang again. But I don't care if you make things difficult for me. His voice was as calm as water, extremely calm. But when the historiographer and the other historians heard it, they suddenly felt a chill from the soles of their feet to their heads. The historiographer's expression was extremely ugly. I am only following orders. Dmo Xian's thin lips curled frivolously. Following orders? If the historiographer is really such a person who values orders and missions, then you wouldn't easily let go of someone who should be arrested, isn't it? His voice revealed a trace of ridicule and ridicule. The historiographer broke out in cold sweat. Dmo Xian's words had a hidden meaning. The historiographer heard it clearly. It looked like, the last time when he was about to capture the Dark Forces people, the news of them being abducted halfway when they were heading to the heavenly realm, the Overlord already knew about it. The historiographer tried his best to restrain the panic in his heart and tried his best to remain calm. Since the Overlord has spoken personally, I guess this matter is just a misunderstanding. He waved his hand and led his men to retreat towards the golden opening. Retreat. When the court officials saw Dmo Xian, they knew that their mission would not be completed today. Immediately, they retreated behind the scribe in an orderly manner. Wait. The young girl's clear voice was clear and pleasant to listen to. The dozen or so scribes immediately stopped in their tracks. The young lady leaned into Dmo Xian's arms as she lazily raised her slender brows and smiled lazily. It's rare for me to meet Mr. Librarian. Why is Mr. Librarian in such a hurry to leave? The prefect's back stiffened and cold sweat oozed from his forehead. He turned around stiffly and said, Miss Yi, we still have other tasks and it's not convenient for us to stay any longer. Isn't the keeper of scribes on a mission? Yi Qing Luo tilted her head in puzzlement and smiled innocently. After all, I'm indeed not from the Earth domain and was reported by someone. Why didn't you investigate clearly and just let me go? This is a misunderstanding. The scribe's brain spun rapidly as he tried to think of a way to explain. We received a report and rushed here because we were worried that someone would use illegal means to sneak into the land. This would affect the balance between the land and the mortal world. But Miss Yi is the lover of His Majesty, so she definitely did not use illegal means. Chapter 3085. Right. How would they dare to say anything wrong? Yi Qing Luo smiled. This smile, as compared to the previous languid smile, was a little more strange. It was obviously a beautiful smile. However, the historiographer only felt a creepy feeling spread in his heart. As expected. Yi Qing Luo smiled lightly and said, since the matter between me and the heavenly Dao realm has been settled, then now. It's time for the matter between you and me to settle it properly. The historian's expression congealed. Miss Yi, what matter do you want to settle with me? Yi Qing Luo's lips curled up as she smiled sweetly. Without beating around the bush, she stared at the historian's eyes and spat out 4 words, dark, force. Indeed, the historian's face sunk slightly. He shifted his gaze and frowned. This matter. Heaven Realm has already formulated a corresponding decision. Miss Yi need not ask any further. Did you not hear me clearly, Keeper of the Annals? Yi Qing Luo's smile deepened. What I said is, the matter between me and you has nothing to do with Heaven Realm. The historian's expression congealed. Yi Qing Luo continued to smile. Initially, I trusted Librarian Overseer and wasn't willing to make things difficult for you, so I handed over the Dark Forces, that bunch of motley crew, as well as Yuhan, to you. But, how did Librarian Overseer betray my trust towards you? Her tone was very calm, and there was a hint of a sweet smile on her face. A pair of smiling eyes stared deeply at him. But the more Yi Qing Luo behaved in this manner, the more the historian felt, the more apprehensive he was. He was unwilling to admit that he was scared by a 15-year-old young lady. But the truth was so. His fingers tightened as he spoke with a steely expression. This matter is my responsibility, but I didn't intentionally let them go. Yi Qing Luo kept her smile as she squinted her eyes. Her face exuded some coldness. Explain clearly what happened that day. That bunch of people from the Dark Forces and Yuhan, other than the Wolf Saint technique, should have been brought to the Heaven Realm by the historian and imprisoned in the Heaven Prison. But the people from the Dark Forces, not only were they not imprisoned. Instead, they joined the secluded palace. They stirred up all sorts of trouble. In addition, Yuhan was also jumping around. Even if the historian of balance didn't come looking for her, she wanted to ask the balance historian what was going on. The historiographer's expression was very ugly. The events of that day. It could be said that this was the most embarrassing moment in his history as the balance palm. If it wasn't for the fact that the Heaven Dao Realm Master didn't care about this matter, he might not be able to sit still in his position as the historiographer. The scribe frowned and wanted to avoid this topic. But when he felt Dmo Xian's chilly gaze, like a sharp blade, cutting into his body. In the end, he couldn't withstand the pressure and told them what had happened that day. Mysterious power. After hearing what the librarian said, Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes slightly as she muttered these 4 words. She raised her head and looked at Dmo Xian. Xian, these things, based on your strength, can you do it? The heavenly Dao rope was inexplicably severed. An invisible force formed a barrier that prevented the scribe and the other scribes from chasing after the dark forces and Yuhan. To be able to do this under the situation of not showing their faces. It could be seen how powerful the person behind this was. Chapter 3086. That means to say, the person who kidnapped the dark forces has the same ability as you. Yiqing Luo's tone was solemn. In this world, there shouldn't be many people who have the same ability as you. The historian of balance could travel between the various planes and maintain the balance of each plane. It was enough to prove that the historian of balance's ability was absolutely not weak. However, that invisible power was able to easily stop the historian of balance. To be able to snatch someone from the hands of hundreds of historian of balance, without harming a single soldier, making the historian of balance could only watch helplessly, unable to do anything to resist. His ability was absolutely on par with Dmo Xian. At least, he was in existence around Dmo Xian's level. I am also one of them. Being left aside, Zhu Wu Xian, who had no sense of existence for a long time, frowned as he spoke in a cold voice. His icy cold eyes fixed on Yiqing Luo. My ability is not any worse than him, and I can totally snatch you from his hands. Yiqing Luo. Her slender brows creased tightly as she stared at Zhu Wu Xian in a bad mood. Let's talk about serious matters, don't mess things up. Saying that, her vision returned back to Dmo Xian. Xian, think about it, is there anyone whose ability is similar to yours? There's always someone better out there. There are many people who are stronger than me. Dmo Xian shook his head, but currently, in my memory, I have not met such a person. Yiqing Luo. Did he need to be so confident? Just how powerful was her man? Roaming around various planes, yet he had not met anyone who had the same ability as him? No wonder. The overlord who made the upper realm tremble in fear. Awesome. Librarian took the opportunity to ask, the matter has been explained clearly, Can we go back to report? Of course. Yiqing Luo smiled sweetly as she nodded. Librarian was still hesitant, afraid that Yiqing Luo would play some tricks. More than a dozen people carefully moved towards the golden opening. But they heard a young lady's voice coming from behind. That's right. Librarian's heart suddenly tightened. Why is Librarian so nervous? I'm just reminding Librarian, in case in future, Heavenly Realm will bear the infamy. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly, her voice was gentle, as though it didn't have any lethality. The librarian turned around and forced a smile. Please enlighten me, Miss Yi. Looking at the treasurer, who was obviously filled with melancholy but still forced a smile, Yiqing Luo's smile grew wider. The feeling of bullying others with force was not bad at all. The heavenly law realm exists to maintain the balance between the major realms. You also exist to maintain the balance between the major realms. After Yiqing Luo opened her mouth, her tone turned solemn. I believe that all of you are aware of the recent changes in the Nirvana realm. If someone really wants to use the Nirvana realm to destroy the balance of the various realms, after all the plans are implemented, even if all the historians of the heavenly law realm are mobilized, I'm afraid it will be useless. The historiographer's bitter expression froze and his eyes turned solemn. Yi Qing Luo waved her hand. That's all I have to say, the rest is up to you. The librarian's expression was complicated. His lips moved, but in the end, he didn't say anything. He just cupped his fists. Librarian Lord, don't be in such a hurry to leave. Suddenly, another spiritual body floated over. Chapter 3087. Bye, the historiographer's lips trembled and his eyes widened as if he wanted to say something. Baisu's spiritual body floated and interrupted him. Historiographer, are you forgetting something? The historiographer's words were stuck in his throat. However, his eyes were fixed on Baisu without blinking. Then, he stammered, forgetting what? Baisu smiled. Are you pretending not to notice the will-o'-wisp candles around here? Such insidious things appearing in the underworld palace, and there are at least 1,000 of them. Isn't this a violation of the balance of the land? The historiographer's expression changed. Naturally, they had sensed the waves of yin qi coming from all directions. However, the historiographer hesitated for a moment and said cautiously, the will-o'-wisp candles are indeed insidious, but it is also true that they belong to the land. This is not within our scope of responsibility. Baisu raised her eyebrows and crossed her arms in front of her chest. There was a layer of coldness on her beautiful face. It's not within your scope of responsibility, and you don't care? This. The historiographer felt a headache coming on. Why was he so unlucky today? When he received a report from the land, he thought it was just someone from the lower bound who used some forbidden means to come to the land in pursuit of power. It was just a small matter. Unexpectedly, they were all people he could not afford to offend. And each one was more difficult to deal with than the other. In the face of Baisu's aggressiveness, the historiographer was full of anxiety. After a long while, he forced himself to say, This is indeed not within our scope of responsibility. Even if we want to do something, we can't. After saying this, the historiographer stared at Baisu's expression and immediately said, however, when I return to the heavenly law realm, I will definitely report this matter to the realm lord, and then the realm lord will report it to the upper bound. That was what Baisu had been waiting for. She stretched out her transparent hand and slowly patted the historiographer's shoulder. The hand of a spiritual body could not touch a physical body. However, the historiographer felt a huge pressure. It was as if a 1,000-kilogram boulder was pressing heavily on his shoulder. In that case, I'll have to trouble Lord Keeper of the Historiography to report this matter to the upper realms. Baisu's voice was light, as if she was having a casual chat. The librarian felt a chill down his spine. He nodded vigorously, yes, of course. Baisu moved her hand away with a smile. Miss Bai, is there anything else? The scribe looked at Baisu's expression and asked tentatively. Baisu continued to smile, yes. The librarian, he was so tired that he didn't want to resist anymore. Baisu glanced at Bai Mei, who was lying on the ground with a badly mutilated face. Bai Mei made a false report to the heavenly realm because of her personal grudges, slandering Yi Qing Luo for using extraordinary means to sneak into the earth realm and obstructing the normal order of the court officials. Shouldn't the court official handle this matter? The scribe followed Baisu's line of sight. When he saw Bai Mei's terrifying face, he frowned. Chapter 3088. The scribe was speechless. If he hadn't seen Baisu's domineering side just now, the scribe might have been deceived by Baisu. But now, hearing Baisu's words, the scribe knew Baisu's purpose clearly. He coughed softly and gave the two scribes behind him a look. The scribe understood and immediately stepped forward. He lifted Bai Mei up from the ground from both sides. Bai Mei, who had been mourning for her face, suddenly struggled. Sister, you can't do this to me. I've lost my face, and you still want to lock me up in the realm of heavenly law? How can you be so cruel? Bai Mei cried. Bai Su cried even more helplessly than her. I don't want to do this, but I don't have time to accompany you, and I can't discipline you, so I let you do such a thing. Your body, hair, and skin belong to your parents. But you actually used this kind of method to change your face. Not only that, but you also absorbed yin qi, hurt others, and destroyed yourself. However, Bai Mei didn't listen to Bai Su at all, and the words she said became even more unpleasant. Her face was forcibly torn off from her face. As she spoke, the blood on her face kept rolling down. Bai Su turned her head, as if she couldn't bear to see Bai Mei like this. She sobbed and said, Now, in order to frame His Majesty's lover, you even made a false report. If not for His Majesty's kindness, if not, the consequences would not be as simple as being locked up. I'm trying to save you. Speaking of this, she was already choking with sobs. Mr. Scribe, I'll leave my sister to you. You don't have to respect me or His Majesty. As long as you can teach her what to do and what not to do. You can do whatever you want. Bai Su took a deep breath and waved her hand. I hope Mr. Scribe can take good care of my poor sister. When her transformation is successful, I'll personally go to thank you and take her home. Bai Mei's screams and insults became even more unpleasant. Her face was covered with blood, and her white dress was dyed red. The scribe was also worried that if she stayed any longer, she would be involved in a series of things. Immediately, he called out to the scribe and carried Bai Mei to the direction of the golden entrance. Fortunately, this time, no one stopped him. After the scribe disappeared through the golden opening with the other scribes, the golden light that illuminated the underworld palace also gradually dissipated. The interior of the underworld palace was once again enveloped by a dark green light. The gloomy and eerie atmosphere had returned. All right, everyone has left and the matter should be settled. Let's disperse. Bai Su drifted over leisurely, her slightly transparent spirit body wrapped tightly around Yi Qing Luo. Bai Su's beautiful eyes sized up Yi Qing Luo without blinking. He seemed to be examining something. Yi Qing Luo wasn't used to this feeling and took a few steps back unnaturally. Didn't you scram? Why did you come back? Dmo Xian pulled Yi Qing Luo into his arms, blocking Bai Su's sight. Bai Su floated backward and shrugged, My poor sister is still here. If you kill her in a fit of anger, I will lose my poor sister, won't I? Yi Qing Luo popped her head out from Dmo Xian's embrace. Chapter 3089. But Bai Su's words were indeed true. If she hadn't returned. Even if Dmo Xian didn't kill Bai Mei, those people from Hell Palace would not let Bai Mei off. After all, Bai Mei's human face was obviously in cahoots with Ghost Fire Candle. Then Bai Mei would be in cahoots with Dark Palace who made use of Hell Palace. All along, they were the ones who made use of others and hurt others. Now they had been schemed against. Everyone from Hell Palace was suppressing a raging fire in their hearts. If it wasn't for the fact that Dmo Xian and Bai Su were around, they might not be able to hold it in and vent their anger on Bai Mei. Dmo Xian squinted his long peach blossom eyes and didn't bother about Bai Su as he looked at the person in his arms. How do you want to settle the people from Hell Palace? It could be said that with Dmo Xian around, even if Yi Qing Luo killed the people from Hell Palace in the Earth Realm, the balance historian wouldn't come looking for trouble. Presumably, that historian didn't want to meet Yi Qing Luo anymore. Yi Qing Luo wrapped one arm around his waist as she pondered for a moment, temporarily. Don't kill them. The people from Hell Palace had been made use of by Dark Palace. In terms of revenge, Xia Ba and Lang Yan, these two proud and arrogant people, had been crippled. They had become useless people who needed people to serve them even when they were eating, drinking, and defecating. To them, this was the most severe punishment. As for the others, since Dark Palace liked to play such tricks, she might as well retaliate. Like Hell Palace, a place where the united and fearless lunatics gathered. Just like Dark Palace, they were perverts who liked to cultivate those sinister forbidden cultivation methods. After finding out that Dark Palace had schemed against them, they wanted to use their power to nurture Chi and human face. How could they possibly let Dark Palace off? Dark Palace wanted to make use of Hell Palace to deal with her and Dmo Xian. Then, they could also make use of Hell Palace to deal with Dark Palace. Apparently, Dmo Xian had the same thought as her. The two of them smiled at each other as their brows were filled with warmth and sweetness. Cough. Cough cough. A hurried cough was heard. The two of them immediately looked over. Zhu Wuxian's face was cold as he raised his right hand. My hand hurts. Dmo Xian's brows creased slightly as he squinted his peach blossom eyes in displeasure. Now you know pain. Yiqing Luo squinted at him. You deserve to die from the pain. If it wasn't for the fact that he refused to let go of her, how could a human face have the chance to hide in his body? Why did he cause so much trouble? Now, in order to force Chu Wuxin out of his skin, who knew how long he had to keep Chu Wuxin by their side? Not to mention that between Chu Wuxin and Dmo Xian, there was a possibility that a fight could break out anytime. Let's talk about what happened in the Nirvana realm. About the Palace of Gloomy Darkness. Regarding the corpse puppets. The matter of gathering sacred beast pearls. She simply did not have any extra time to take care of Zhu Wuxin. Zhu Wuxin's face became even darker and colder. You think that I shouldn't be in pain? Can you stop messing around? Towards Zhu Wuxian's train of thought, Yiqing Luo was rather helpless. Given Zhu Wuxin's character, she couldn't tell him directly that she wasn't the person who had made a promise to him when they were young. Zhu Wuxin was the kind of person who would rather die in glory than live in dishonor. If he knew that she had taken over the original Yiqing Luo's body, then there was a high possibility that they would become enemies. Becoming enemies with Zhu Wuxin was absolutely a headache. Zhu Wuxin's eyes were sinister and his deep cold eyes were deep and gloomy. Chapter 3090. Zhu Wuxian's action made Yiqing Luo turn pale with fright. Just as that palm was about to strike Zhu Wuxian's right hand, suddenly, a ray of purple light flashed past. It set off a profound wave in the air, blocking Zhu Wuxian's palm. Dmo Xian retracted his hand as his brows were filled with impatience. If you want to die, then die further away. Don't dirty Lil Luo's eyes. Zhu Wuxian's left hand was immobilized by a ray of purple light. His face still bore an indifferent expression. Yiqing Luo frowned as she strode towards him. Zhu Wuxian, do you know what you're doing? Seeing her getting closer, Zhu Wuxian raised his head slightly. His thin lips curled up as he revealed an undetectable smile. On that cold face, the contours of his contours became gentler. His cold and deep eyes gazed deeply at her, as though he wanted to see her into his eyes, into the depths of his heart. That feeling made Yiqing Luo not feel used to it. You feel that it's wrong for the human face skin to merge into my body. I want to chop off my right hand, in this way. The human face skin will no longer be in my body. His thin lips moved slightly as his voice was extremely icy cold. But if one listened carefully, she could still tell the lightness and smiling intent in his tone. Yiqing Luo, this was probably a self-masochistic pervert? Why did she feel that? Was Zhu Wuxian using another method to flirt with her? She didn't like it and felt that it was wrong. So he wanted to chop off his own right hand so that she would like it, so that she wouldn't be angry? What kind of flirting technique was this? Who told him? She totally didn't feel touched, all right? Yiqing Luo's lips twitched as she no longer had the energy to ridicule him. Towards Zhu Wuxian, she couldn't see through what he was thinking. Her slender brows creased as she stared at Zhu Wu Xian with a solemn expression as she said word by word, "The human face skin is already in your body. This is an indisputable fact. What we need to do now is to wait for the human face skin to lose its nutrients and escape from your body before subduing it. I'm very serious and solemn, reminding you that it's not because you chop off your own hand that I will feel guilty and accept you. It's not that I'll pity you, sympathize with you, and accept you because you've made yourself miserable, and pitiful." Yi Qing Luo's words were heavy. It was also blatantly shattering Chu Wuxin's feelings for her. Seeing Zhu Wuxin's face turn pale, the light in his eyes dimmed. Yi Qing Luo shifted her gaze away, not regretting what she had said. She gave Chu Wuxin hope and then watched as Chu Wuxin kept pestering her. This was truly cruel to Zhu Wuxin. If you don't love, don't give me hope. Also, don't be ambiguous. After a long while, Yi Qing Luo saw that Zhu Wu Xian didn't open his mouth for a long time, so she announced her decision. "The human face skin is in your body, so before it leaves your body, you will stay by Xian and my side." Chu Wuxin raised his head. His jet-black hair was scattered messily on his face. A faint smile appeared on his grave and stern face. "All right," he replied. Yi Qing Luo met with Zhu Wu Xian's deep gaze, and that gaze contained some gentleness. She frowned, and in case Zhu Wu Xian misunderstood anything, she explained, "The human face skin's yin qi is very heavy. If you're controlled by the human face skin, at least Xian is able to suppress it, so we let you follow us." "Emin," Zhu Wu Xian swiftly responded. Chapter 3091. Why did it feel like Zhu Wuxin really wanted to stay by their side? However, since Zhu Wuxin was so cooperative, the rest could be ignored. Yi Qing Luo took a deep breath as she looked at Zhu Wu Xian. "Then your death god castle, as well as other matters, leave it to your trusted people to handle. You will return with us." She paused. Just as she was about to say the word Imperial Palace, she stopped herself. No, Chu Wuxin and Dmo Xian were obviously not on friendly terms. It was not that she did not believe in Zhu Wuxin. But, it was related to the Imperial Palace, it was related to Dmo Xian. If Zhu Wuxin entered the Arch Palace, he would know the correct location of the Arch Palace. Anything that would damage the Imperial Palace. She could not forgive Zhu Wuxin, nor could she forgive herself. She pursed her lips and was about to say, "Three Springs Sect." Her delicate body was caught by a force, and her body was pulled into a warm embrace. "When we arrive at the Arch Palace, just arrange a room for us." Dmo Xian cast a cold glance at Zhu Wu Xian. "The Imperial Palace's spiritual qi is able to suppress the yin energy in the human face, reducing the chances of you being controlled." Zhu Wuxin raised his eyebrows. His cold face was devoid of any emotion as he indifferently spat out a word, "Oh." Following that, he shifted his gaze onto Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo frowned as she didn't want to continue tangling with Zhu Wu Xian. She had said a few more words to Zhu Wuxin just now. She was so close to Di Zun that she was already jealous. "Let's return to Nirvana Realm." Yi Qing Luo wrapped her arms around Dmo Xian's waist as she spoke. Dmo Xian embraced her and both of them returned to the carriage. Zhu Wu Xian's gaze was deeply fixated on Yi Qing Luo's back, and it was until the veil blocked her figure before he lifted his foot and walked over. Before he even got close to the carriage. "Ah, Lei and ah, you were already standing in front of the sedan. Young Master Zhu, if you are exhausted, I can lend you my battle pet." Zhu Wuxin's gaze landed on the carriage. "That's the exclusive seat of the Overlord and Madam." Ah Lei deliberately emphasized the words, "Madam." Zhu Wuxin's brows furrowed indiscernibly. After pondering for a long time, he closed his eyes. Immediately after, a green light flashed, and a deafening howl resounded. In front of him was a giant green wolf with fur that was as sharp as blades. His sharp fangs shone with a cold light under the dark green light. Zhu Wu Xian leaped onto the back of the green wolf. Ah Lei and Ah Yu looked at Green Wolf's expression with a hint of surprise. But soon, he put away the expression on his face and stood by the side of the carriage. Little Nine's tail moved. Dragging the carriage, it slowly floated in the air. Lord Di Zun, Lady Di, when the people from the underworld palace saw that they were planning to leave, they immediately grew anxious. Old Lai held his wound and staggered forward. Lord Overlord, Madam Emperor, these ghost fires. What should we do with the ghost fire candles? The rest of the people from the underworld palace also rushed forward. Lord Overlord, Madam Emperor, although the underworld palace has never been principled, we have our own rules. This time in the Nirvana realm, we, the Infernal Palace, are responsible for hurting the Lady Di. Since the Lady Di didn't pursue this matter, the Infernal Palace owes you a favor. If there's anything that you need the Infernal Palace's help with, the Infernal Palace will definitely go through water and tread on fire. Ghost fire candles. Whoever taught you how to make them, find that person to help you settle these ghost fire candles. Yi Qing Luo lifted the veil as she spoke in a calm tone. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.